Bucket. Bucket. Yeah. Bucket. Y'all are really about to start getting the real meat, and it's kind of crazy. It's kind of crazy. Sometimes I don't know whether to feel terrified or liberated. I don't know. I do have some controversial takes on some things sometimes. And this is what they want. This is what they want. This is what you want. Uh, uh, yeah. Okay. So hey guys, welcome back to another Limitless Conversation Stripped. Um so today I want to talk about a lot of things. For real, for real. Well, it's really two main things that kind of sparked this conversation for me. Number one, it was Beyonce's album drop. And then number two, it was everything happening with B. Simone and Megan Ashley. And these two events sparked to me how important it is to be neutral and appreciate art for art, whether it's God's art. Well, it's all God's art. But when I think about the B. Simone and Megan Ashley thing, obviously it's not literal art. It's God's art, though, because it's all teaching us something. And then I think about Beyonce and how, depending on what side of the TikTok algorithm you end up on, you either think that she is just like a Satan worshiper, or you think that she is just amazing. And like, I tend to really enjoy Beyonce. Like, I love her content. I don't worship Beyonce, but there's so many things that I do appreciate about her. And then we just look at so many things in the world, and it's just a reminder that life is about duality. And in these times, especially, it's going to be so important for us to be able to remain neutral, because if you get too attached to one side or the other and it isn't in balance, then you just have to be mindful. Because I think what's tricky about things like conspiracy theories and stuff like that, not saying that those aren't real options or realities of life. I absolutely think that that is a real reality. I guess the best way I can also explain to add context to that is I think that we live on Earth, but I think that Earth has many different options, many different variants, many different timelines, many ways that you can see life, many lenses and like planes that you can be on. And so I think it's tricky. And I always say this is the best way I can explain it. In simplest terms, I was binge watching Snowfall one time. Like, I was just binging I was binge watching Snowfall, watching so many episodes, and I like needed to go out the house to go like pick up some food for dinner. And I promise you, I'm walking around the corners like, like paranoid, paranoid, because I all of a sudden I'm in a world where people are gonna come around the corner and shoot me. Like, I am in a nice high rise building, child. Ain't nobody shooting me, but I literally was so scared because I was watching that show and I was tapped into that frequency, and that's why frequency in which you consume a lot of it matters. So if you are in a world where you are believing so much about conspiracies and all of this different stuff, all of this darkness, you will look around and the world around you will be so dark. I look at some people that I know that have in ways been consumed with dark information, and I worry for them, in a way, and I can just pray for them. But it's just, I see how their lens of life has just changed so much. And this is not funny. It's not funny, guys, but I have to make comedy of things because this is how straight up my fire energy works sometimes. Y'all are really seeing the duality of me in this series. But I just think about how people are like, if you play the song backwards reversed, oh my, backwards reversed two times, and you hear the subconscious programming, and all I could think about when I hear those perspectives, and this is me being judgmental, let me be clear. All I could think was like, you guys just love to be powerless. Everyone picks their plights of what they like to be powerless, and I guess, but I just thought, like, you guys like to be powerless. You guys like the idea of not having control over anything, and everything just being so out of control, and just affecting you so much. And now, obviously, we don't have control over a lot of things, but the thing that you do have control over is how you perceive, how you internalize, and how you accept and navigate information. So, like, I don't know whether Beyonce is of light or of dark. I think Beyonce is both. I think we all are both. And so when I listen to Beyonce's music, I don't think I'm not on the conspiracy side. I have a little bit more of the worship content on my side. I just kind of find humor in just people interpreting art. I don't even be thinking about it like, oh my God, they're worshiping her. I just think about it like everyone's just trying to figure out this art. And then I just kind of end up being from the frame of like, that's what art is about. It is about interpretation. It is about, I ever think about when people read the Bible, right? People talk about just, if you listen to one preacher, another preacher, they could all preach about the same scripture, but everyone will talk about it differently because everyone has a different lens. Everyone's viewing things so differently. So, because everyone's viewing everything so differently, then there's no true way for art to be comprehended. So, when I listen to Beyonce's album, I don't think about whatever darkness could have been happening. I don't think about Beyonce being the god or whatever. I just think about the beauty of the art. And then depending on where I am, some stuff is lower frequency for sure. Like, and some stuff, like, I can't, like, right now with me doing so much internal deep healing and stuff, I can't watch certain heavy shows right now. I'm literally watching a child's movie because right now, that's the energy that I need to be tapped into. I need a lighter energy. But I don't sit in judgment or condemn anything. I think that's just not even for me, like, I'm not even gonna say what I was gonna say. I'm gonna say I just don't think it's a healthy way to live. It's important to be as much as we can a being of unconditional love. So I don't look at her art and think, oh my gosh, she's just the darkest thing ever. Excuse me, and I don't think, oh my God, like she's just a goddess. I think she's powerful. I think she wields her power. I think that she navigates however she navigates. But all I do is I just look at the beauty of the art. What is being expressed through the music? What is being expressed here? What's the story? How can I understand that story? How can I just listen to the story of it and being like, wow, that is an experience. Like, to think about, we like to sit in the judgment position so much as if we don't ever experience any of these feelings that we ever hear. Of course, things are to different degrees, but you can't ever say that you heard something and it just completely was foreign to you. Because a lot of it comes to a certain root. Like, I don't know about the song about the daughter breakdown. I didn't see it. I just kind of heard about what people were saying about it being a dark song. I listened to it. Yes, she's fantasizing about harming somebody, but have we not all felt levels of hurt and pain? You know what I mean? Like, her hurt and pain, sure, and that song is driving her to a very much an extreme. Yeah. But just hearing the story for the level of hurt and pain, like, it's the transmutation of energy and taking yourself out of judgment and literally just looking at the situation for what it is. Now this kind of, I'm gonna get off Beyonce. I'm gonna go talk about the B Simone and Megan Ashley thing. So B Simone, like, recently released her podcast, and I actually followed the Know For Sure podcast, and I used to follow B Simone before. And when I watched, I'm just gonna give y'all a background to just watch the transformation and taking yourself out of how I take myself out of judgment as best as I can, so you guys can just understand, I don't know, my thought process, because this is really like something that has happened as I've watched the show. So I would watch the Know For Sure podcast, and I was like, oh, this is really good. I really enjoyed the podcast. Sometimes I felt like Megan's energy to me felt a little heavy, and I just resonated with B Simone more in some spaces because I am very bubbly, very personable, and all that kind of stuff, right? And then, so when they broke up and Megan kind of launched her own podcast, I didn't really watch Megan's podcast a ton because, like I said, I didn't really resonate with her energy. It felt heavier to me. But then recently, I had been watching her episodes, like a few of her newer episodes, and I just looked at her. I'm like, wow, it seems like she's really feeling lighter. Like, her energy feels lighter. It feels like she figured out whatever she needed. I know that her walk with God got a lot closer, and it feels like that is really offering her relief and a lightness to her. And I just watched it. I'm like, wow, I love it. So then I could actually enjoy her content. And I remember when they first broke up, like, every comment being like, "Oh my god, like, Megan's so heavy," and B Simone, I get she's probably just tired, and da 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 da. And then B Simone was kind of quiet. We didn't really hear much from her. We only really had seen Megan, and I think all of us had kind of grown to just appreciate Megan. And I just look at the art of God's work, because then B Simone comes out with her podcast, and B Simone's fiery. She's spicy. She's blunt and direct. and using comedy, right? And so people didn't like how she wrote out her podcast. And even when I first watched it and I heard her be like, get this out of here, or not get that, she said, what's this? And I talk about the other chair that was in the video. And I'm like, whoa, spicy. Okay. And then, it was interesting because internally, personally, I was kind of looking at these two sides of me that I resonate with as almost as the both of them, right? I talked about this in another video, another strip one. I think it was like number 5, wielding your fire. I talked about that, right? Because Will Be Simone reminds me of my fiery side, that part of me that's very blunt, very honest, very matter of fact, very straight to the point, very like that. And this will be Simone has said, people pleasing, wanting everyone to have a good time, wanting everyone to, like that's if you're into astrology or you're not, and you think take the trait, don't take the astrology. But I just relate to astrology. So for me, I'm like, yeah, it's a fire sign. Like, I love passion. I love for everyone to have fun. I love for everyone to have a good time. I love for the vibes to be high, right? And I love to joke. And I make jokes that sometimes are like brutally honest, but it's just being real because it's just very cut to the chase. And so I was kind of in that energy when B Simone launched it. And so to see that energy of mine reflected back to me in B Simone, I'm like, woo, I can see how that's a little sharp. I can definitely see how that can. I was already in judgment of my sharp tongue. So I was kind of like, ooh, yeah, tricky. Um, and then I also was relating to Megan and the fact of how Megan is in this space of submitting everything to the higher purpose, to a higher God, very analytical, right? Very much analyzes and kind of dissects all of the things and uses her mind a lot, right? And so I watched the world like be against B Simone. So then I watched it when they were all for what she was saying when they first broke up, but now some time had went on, and now everyone's like, oh, I don't like her approach to it. And then I actually listened to the first episode of the podcast, and you can hear B Simone's vulnerability. You can hear her navigating. I think everyone wants to pick sides on things, and that's what gets tricky, because even I was like, well, what side do I pick? What side do I feel the closest to? And because I was already doing my own internal evaluation of my analytical half and my just blunt forward half. I'm about to ramble for a second, but just follow me. I was talking to my friend the other day, my best friend, and I was like, because her partner reminds me a lot of someone I used to date, and I was like, what I really enjoy about them is that they just say things in such a, and actually they're both fire signs, so that's very hilarious. They just say things in such a simple way, like it's just like, do this, do that, like I remember the guy I was dating, I was talking to him about a struggle I was having with my friend or whatever, and me and her were texting. He's like, "Why are y'all texting? Why don't you call her? It's never good to text people like that kind of. Just call her." And I was just like, "But I don't want to call her because then she's out like this." And I just went through all the analytics and like all the things and all the overthinking. And he's like, "Just call her." And because I trusted him, I just did, and it literally made everything so much better, right? So I'm like, there's appreciation for their perspectives because they just say things so matter of fact. It is what it is. So there's like such a beauty in that. And that's kind of how I think about the energy like that B Simone has, right? It's just very matter of fact, cut to the point, solution. What are we doing? It's very big picture. And now look at Megan Ashley. And she is very like analytical, details, like all the little things that matter. And I'm watching how people are like mad at B Simone, and I'm just like, I get it because like, I number one at first didn't wasn't the biggest fan of Megan Ashley, but then kind of came to like her more as I've watched her grow, and as I have personally grown, and then as I watch B Simone, I already like B Simone. I already resonated with her, and again, she has that sharpness to her that I get could be jarring. But it's just the truth. Like she's saying the things that everyone was obviously thinking. Like, what happened to the pod? Y'all didn't like that she made a joke out of it. You know what I mean? But she's saying the things that maybe everyone was wondering for months while we didn't know because Megan kind of kept things more quiet and more to herself because, well, there's a part of, I don't know Megan or B Simone, obviously, but, it seems like Megan is the personification of being in your mind and kind of keeping things in your mind and analyze them. And B Simone's kind of the personification of just like saying things how it is, out not in your mind, out your mouth. You know. And so as I was internally kind of going through my own journey of like well, what is the balance of this all? Like, they were just literally the outward projection of what I personally was kind of navigating of like, okay, Sean, well, you can't be so sharp and say everything. You can take a moment to kind of think about it and consider it. And it's like, well, there's time for both. And so kind of what I gathered from watching this situation is that neither one of them is wrong. You know, there's not a right or wrong way to approach things. It's really just how you navigate best. And what I was saying was that the fact that everyone wanted to pick a side really shows that collectively we all can do better and use it as an opportunity to see how can we be more neutral and just observe what's happening, and then how can we internally balance these things. I'm not saying that either one of them are imbalanced, but as I said in the comments I looked under one of the video under her video was um there has all been a time for all of us where we have analyzed when we should have just laughed and moved on. And there's all been a time when we have laughed about something that we really should have analyzed. It's just all about balance. So I when I say God's art, I mean that they always thought that the purpose of the podcast was to have the podcast. But if you really look at the bigger picture, the purpose of this to me was for us all to see these two totally different energies navigating two different ways, and both of them in moments being feeling like, from my experience, an exaggeration of the energy. You know, when we watched the pod, when I watched the pod and I watched me, B and Meg, and Megan was going through a hard time, it felt like a imbalance of being in the mind and thinking too much, where now she feels a little bit more balanced. And then when we watched B Simone, we felt like her delivery was really sharp and in balance. And then and then if you listen to the episodes, you hear the vulnerability and you hear more of the balance in it. So I think that we should, especially with so much stuff probably going to be coming to the surface and things, I think it would be beneficial for all of us to learn how to be just more neutral and look at like, stop thinking your shit don't stink. You know what I mean? Like, stop thinking that like you can't never resonate with none of this energy, or you're so beyond and past things, because typically things aren't black and white. Typically there's not one right way to do it. Neither way is the right way. It's just always truly about balance. And what is the best middle ground that we can come to at this point? And a lot of times we're not going to be in the middle. A lot of times it might be like 70%, 60%, you know, because we all have things that we naturally gravitate to. And then that's the beauty of it, is that, well, you need all of it. You know, we need the people who are so exaggerated in a way, because they remind us all of a thing that we need. Is this tracking? Is this making sense? I swear you would think I was a Libra with all the balancing, all the balance. But truly, like, we would we can all benefit from it. You know, I think that Megan Ashley is anointed in what she is doing. I think she's supposed to be doing that. I think she's, and why does my opinion matter? It doesn't. But just from my perception, I think that's what she's supposed to do. I think people who are just radically Christian, that's where I look for my other video, radical. People who are radically Christian are cool because they remind us of the ballad. I listen to them when I'm feeling really low, and it's like I need that extra bit of like, I need that 100 because I'm at 0. So that 100 helps me get back to like 50, which is cool for me. You know what I mean? And then sometimes you need that like over the top, like almost sounding harsh because you're too far. You taking too long to get somewhere you need to have been at. So it's like, oh, okay, you need to hear that because you need to show yourself how to get to that middle ground. I really hope this is all connecting and making a lot of sense. But yeah, I think that we have something to learn, all of us, about being neutral and just remaining in your power, not choosing sides, not picking sides, but just honoring the beauty of all of the sides and how we can all integrate and incorporate each side more and more for ourselves. And I think that each thing has given us an opportunity to see where we're imbalanced. You know, if you are too far on each spectrum or any specific spectrum, then it gives us all an opportunity to look at where can we evolve? How can we grow? Like, if you just felt like B Simone was the exact perfect way, then maybe you could be more balanced and seeing how we all can benefit from taking some time to analyze. And if you just think that Megan's approach to being more analytical and more in her mind, then you could maybe benefit from seeing that maybe sometimes that feels like the longer route when the answer might just be more simple. Um, something I deeply resonate with them too and their journey, and so it's just to understand that everything that is outside of us is never outside of us. It's always inside of us. There are certain things that you don't even get to see on the TV that happens in the world that you don't even really know much about, but the things that are highlighted to you that you get to see there are maybe for some reason trying to show you something. And so I just look at God's art of putting this relationship, this friendship dynamic right in our faces to give us all an opportunity to look internally and see within ourselves. Even the thing about the Beyonce music and all these conspiracies and all these things give us all an opportunity to look at how we are navigating life, how we're interpreting things, and how can we ultimately just be the most neutral that we can be. Because to me, that for me personally, that's my goal because that's the most God-like to me. God, I think, is so neutral on things. I think God just sees everything as creation, and it's not no judgment because that's what Earth is about. Freaking duality. Welcome. Whew. Oh, I thought I was not recording. I was about to be like, oh, this ain't happening. That's it. That's it. I'm gone. I've been rambling. I've been chatting a lot. I'm excited though. Damn, this feels so authentic. This feels like you guys are really getting to know me and my brain. And I'm giving like my brain on the table to just hear and be a part of. And I know I'm not alone. And if I am, well, I'll stand alone here on this island. Me and I'm vibing. Ain't got no more time. I'll stand alone. I should be a songwriter.